Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for August 19th through 21st. How are you doing? Well, we're coming, still feeling the energy of this potent Leo new moon, asking us, what is it going to take for us to shine our light? We're in an interesting energy now, though. It's almost like that Leo new moon, the activating Mercury, Sun activation. And we had this intense, for the last week or two, we've been feeling this intense Mars square Pluto. And we're moving into Mars square Saturn. That will happen. It won't happen exact until the 26th through the 28th. But we're starting to feel that influence, but we're like in between. We're still in square to Pluto, but pretty much over coming into square with Saturn. And it's just this very strange feeling that is kind of how we've been feeling all of 2020 around, like, we're stuck in between, like this, stuck in between timelines, stuck in between the past and future, stuck in between our old self, our new self, stuck in between the old timeline, new timeline. And right now, indeed, it's like a holding pattern, because what we're feeling is this Mars starting to slow down, to get ready to turn retrograde. That happens September 9th. But it's like we're already feeling this kind of, it's almost like this anticipation of what's coming, the intensity, kind of like waiting for it, but nothing you can do about it energy, because we've just had the first two Mars squares with Jupiter and Pluto, and we've got 7 more to go, like 2 more with Saturn, 2 more with Jupiter and Pluto. So wow, it's so intense. But some information that's coming through around this Mars retrograde, very important. And that has to do with the feeling that we're feeling right now. We've got the moon in Virgo for the next couple of days. And so a little bit of earth grounding, maybe like, okay, what's going on now? It's like we got this big activation energy of the Leo new moon, and it's like a bell went off, and now what do we, like we're kind of trying to harmonize into that vibration. And we're in this very strange holding pattern where the month of August, we have Mars square Pluto. We already felt Mars square Jupiter, Mars square Pluto, and then now Venus square Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn at the end of the month, and Mars square Saturn. So it's like all of these intense tension squares. But right now we're kind of, it's like the light came on for a minute with that Leo new moon, and it's kind of like, whoa, wait, maybe there is hope after all, I can breathe again. Like, I can remember this life force, this sense of living that's been so suppressed in our world over this 2020. And yet it's kind of like we're suspended there, and this is exactly the message I'm getting around this Mars retrograde, that it's like, yes, it's glitchy. Yes, it's blocking. Yes, it's frustration, like wanting to move, and there's things in the way. But there's this kind of backdrop energy of like, this is a massive dimensional shift we're in right now. And it's happening in a relatively short amount of time. And we need this Mars retrograde to adjust. What I'm seeing and feeling and sensing in the Supernova Soul group is this going back and forth between dimensional realities, maybe multiple, but those timelines and everything. And a very clear example of the physical world, our physical structures, what we see and feel, like not fitting into who we are, like literally, where there's a glitchy energy. Typically you feel this with Mercury retrograde, but I'm feeling it a lot with this Mars retrograde, because I think it's a big dimensional shift where it's like, it's clunky. It feels like the physical world, you got to do this before you can do this, before you can do this. And it like just feels cumbersome, like the actual moving around of physical objects, dealing with your life, the things that are in the way, tangled cords. And you know what I mean? It's like, and this is exactly it. We're in tangled cords. You know how you go to get the knot out, and then as you go to pull, you end up with more of a knot. And that's exactly where we're at right now. Now, coming into this Mars square Saturn, where it's this energy of the structures of our structures, right? It's like the bare bones, like our whole reality-based system based on that this physical world is our reality is getting highly challenged right now by these activating energies. So the whole overall sense is like we're waiting for something, we're in anticipation of some big thing, and the message is like that big thing is happening. And it's almost like we're like kind of have to step out of our reality to be able to adjust and then slip back into our reality or something, like we're just suspended. And it's a very, very strange feeling, but knowing what's trying to happen energetically and claiming this Mars retrograde as your opportunity to completely break free of those contracts and energies and belief systems, the structures of our structures that are keeping us, keeping you from stepping into this new paradigm, because it's coming in. The astrology charts are having big lines in the sand, big shifts I'm seeing for people right at the beginning of 2021, where that Jupiter and Saturn, move out of Capricorn and into Aquarius for good. And a big shift for all of us. And then it's like being reflected in the charts, but it's like, oh, whoa, this could be a completely different world ahead of you if you can use this time to your advantage. And then again, for spring 2022, it feels like there's another kind of step in these chapters that are laying out for people. So I guess that's the message. It's like, it feels like nothing's happening, but it's because so much is happening, right? So much is happening that it feels like nothing is happening. Because it's almost like, how sometimes it's almost making me think of how you have to go to sleep sometimes to assimilate. It's like, well, you go to sleep and then the next day you can kind of have a different perspective. Is this what's going on? Like the Mars retrograde is like, just go to sleep. Just go to sleep. You're stuck here for a minute in the cave. Go to sleep and let these energetic upgrades happen and assimilate, so that when the energy does shift, you're ready to run with it. You're not like, oh, whoops, I missed this contract. It's the only thing holding me back. I've been working on this for 20 lifetimes. And, I don't know. It's just this feeling of like, let's be present, take advantage of the potency, and remember that it's almost like the more it feels like nothing is happening, that actually means the more is happening in your world, because you got to exit out in a way. You got to go to sleep to adjust to these massive changes. And maybe keeping that in our psyche, understanding that that's what this is all about in this bigger picture, can help with this standing still feeling. This is like, all these intense square transits, and then Mars just like, we haven't even gotten to Mars retrograding. I mean, it hasn't even started. It's the energy started, because it's like went into shadow in July, but it's like we're just waiting. We're just in this holding pattern, except the holding pattern is about, almost like all the players have to get off of the stage so that the scene can change. Right? If you're going to have an actor still on the stage and the scene change, then that's not going to be believable. So we got to like exit stage right and get a grip and maybe just keeping that in the back of your mind, like, oh, this is a massive dimensional shift, right? It's like I'm assimilating to a massive dimensional shift, and just sit tight and kind of understand. And it's also this revealing of one by one, all those, as you go to clean up the cords, and they've gotten more knotted. And it's like, oh, that contract over there that I kind of didn't deal with, it's actually connected to this contract. And then I got to go back and deal with that contract to get this contract. And this is the glitchy Mars retrograde with all these squares is like, you're in a maze. And again, you're going to come up against that wall. But every time you come up against a wall, you can learn from it. Well, hopefully we're as smart as the rodents, to be able, in this year of the rat, to be able to navigate the maze and get our way out of there. And so you hit the wall and it's like, oh yeah, no, now I remember this isn't the way that will work for me. And before, it could kind of work, right? Because you could be in between timelines. You could be a little of this, a little of that, right? But now it's like, no, you have to choose. You have to get on the right path. So again, another message coming through on this Mars retrograde is like, you want to move forward. Like, we can't go anywhere right now. We're just nudging up against the wall and going in circles in the labyrinth maze. But it's because you want to move forward, when you do move forward, in just the right way, you know? And that's an interesting energy. It's like one of the positive energies of Capricorn. They're a little bit nitpicky, like detail oriented, you know? And so it's like the structures of the structures and the details of the structures and the beliefs that carry the structures that carry the beliefs. And it's like, we got to get serious. Capricorn's serious. It's a hardworking. It's like, we got to do the work, get serious, clean up, undo the knots. We have our patience to undo the knots and know that we're going to come up against those walls in the end of the road again and again, because we want to get on the one right optimal path. That's the only choice we have besides the lower paradigm matrix. So it's very powerful and potent. And if we can keep that bigger picture, it's really, really helpful. So, the thing is that Venus is also, in Cancer, it's also coming into square, and we're not quite feeling it, but the next thing we'll feel is Venus square Jupiter on the 25th and Venus square Pluto on the 30th, Mars square Saturn on the 26th to the 28th. So that last week of August, big squeezing squares, end of the road feeling. But with Venus involved in Cancer, it's about, you can keep going down that path, but you're never, ever going to get what you're looking for that way. It's like, yeah, but this seems easy and it's laid out for me and it's what everybody else thinks I should do. It's like, no, it's never going to serve you in your true path and purpose, right? Because Venus, we're coming off of the just ending the Venus square Chiron energy today. And so that Venus square Chiron is like where your needs don't add up, where what you thought you wanted and your idea of what you wanted and what you love, what you care for, what makes you feel good, doesn't fit the truth of who you are. And that's what it's like, rehash and going deeper with everything that came up in the Venus retrograde. Because if so much came up in the Venus retrograde, but it was so confusing. Now we're starting to get a grip, get some direction. But then it's like, ooh, that doesn't fit. Like, one doesn't go with the other, And that's, maybe it's like, because we have to get our wants and needs, our desires, our spiritual purpose, our best way forward, all of it has to line up in the optimal timeline. We can't mess around anymore. And it's going to feel better, but we got to go through a massive adjustment. And this, ironically, the Mars retrograde seems to be about trying to harmonize this process in a very glitchy way. So we'll see. The thing we are really feeling, since the major transits are kind of off right now, we're feeling the minor transits. And what's coming forward is the South Node on the galactic center. That's pretty massive, actually. But it's kind of in the backdrop. It's like the bigger picture of being called onto our destiny path, except for that all this energy coming up from the past where you feel like you failed on your mission, or you failed on your path, or you don't even have a path. So deep personal grief, planetary grief coming up around feeling like you failed on your mission. And, this is the energy that the control energies are using right now to keep us disempowered. It's like, oh, you light workers, you thought you were getting somewhere. You're not getting anywhere on this planet. Get back in your box. Get back in your maze. Good luck finding a way out of that one. Like, you failed. It's all going to shit. And it's like, that's what's being shown to us on the surface. And so it's really important that we use this South Node Sag to our advantage and say, I'm grabbing a hold of my destiny. I'm going to go back and find everything that's in the way, because this is what makes life worth living. This is how you get back to your zest. This is how you get back. You get back to your zest by getting back on your quest. Okay. And so it's just like, there's a huge energy here of like receiving, maybe Venus in Cancer, and receiving back your spiritual purpose. And then Saturn is in that exact, we've been feeling this for the last month or two, but it's like Saturn in exact semi-sextile. It's a minor transit, but with the other transits kind of going into the background, this is coming forward. And Saturn is our work, duty, path, limitations, karma, contracts, and our structures of our structures, And it's kind of like you can go and change the outward appearance of the structure as much as you want, right? This is what we've been doing. It's like, oh, well, we're going to do this little thing to make our educational system just a little bit different, but we're still using the same educational system that was developed in the industrial age, right? It's like, maybe we want to upgrade a little bit. And it's that thing of like, you can change the outward version of the structure as much as you want, but we got to go to the base. We got to go to the root. We got to go to the basement, clean out the basement and start all over. Can't put a Band-Aid on this shit, And so Saturn in semi-sextile to the South Node is saying that we've got to completely readjust our way forward by completely readjusting the structures beneath the structures, like say with the religious system, and it's like, well, this is a new age church, right? But you're still going to find some punishing God energy. And are you good enough? And you got to earn it, right? And so it's like, you can go ahead and make it out all. This is maybe what our whole last period of time on this planet has been. It's like on the outside, it's like, oh, we're being environmental. Oh, we're caring about the earth. We're awakening, right? But then the fundamental structures that support those changes will not change, and this is what this Mars retrograde is about. It's like pushing against those structures of structures deep underneath all of it that have got to go. And then of course that's our personal life too. And so to get back on your spiritual path and purpose, massive adjustment required in the deep fundamental structures that you didn't even know you were basing your life on. These belief systems and stuff. So that's going to make this time about those things coming to the surface so you can find them. And that seems to be also what this time is about for the collective and the masses. It's like it's coming to the surface and right in our face. It's really hard because it's like, it's got to be, how clear does it need to get, right? How long do we have to look at this in our face of these delusions, right? Because it's like now we're all participating in a satanic ritual and proving our willingness to submit to an authority. And it's right in our face. And if you don't see it, you can go along and be like, okay, now we're wearing masks. This is how life is now. Okay, this is just what we're doing. You're not wearing one. What are you trying to be, a murderer? And it's like, oh man, it's an upside down world, right? But it's like those deeper structures of, say, the people who that we've been taught to trust the most are actually the darkest, negative forces on the planet, right? And it's like, that's got to be really, really clear, or we can never move into the new age and the new paradigm because we'll just create that all over again. So it's uncomfortable because it's happening to us individually, but use this time, use it, be a part of this, start living by being present with these astrologies, acutely, so that you can, remember you're not in a trap. You're in a learning maze and you will get out. But you gotta, use it to your advantage. So we have a few more days of Jupiter and sextile to Neptune, very sweet energy of a backdrop of like, hey, let yourself entertain something completely different. What would it feel like, instead of like, oh, I don't have this. How do I get it? How do I make my life work? How do I fix this? How do I change this? It's like, what would it feel like? What did it look like? What did it feel like to have this big problem that I keep obsessing over solved, and just because it's like entertain a different possibility. Very powerful energy to move us into this Mars retrograde. And then in November, this will happen again, Jupiter sextile Neptune. And so we'll have our third and final, but so it sandwiches, or it's part of this Mars retrograde. So it's kind of cool because it's like Mars retrograde coming up against the structures that haven't been able to change, giving us an opportunity to see more clearly and take action. Mars is about action and will force and moving. But also it's really about entertaining a completely different world, you know, and that we're here to lead the way in that. We're here to step over into the kingdom, you know, and live that truth. So it's game on, even though we can't make a move. So it's like, oh, you're in the game and it's happening, but there's something happening, but you can't do anything about it. So very interesting times, but hang in there in the holding pattern. Let this time work for you. And I look forward to seeing you on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.